r/AskReddit by Reddit. Dear Reddit, what is your weirdest dream/nightmare you've ever had? My best friend took me to some farmland during a time when it was covered in a thick layer of snow, gave me a large squirt gun, and told me to spray the cows as they came in. I take one look at the cows, and I get sad, and throw the gun into the snow. The farmer, or a farmhand, sees us, yells and curses at us, and makes us line up against the fence. I swear to him that it was all my friend's idea. This large mob of people consisting of everyone I know gathers around to watch this unfold, and at some point, my friend says something to me. In that moment, I fly into this murderous rage, grabbing him by the throat and screaming, "You son of a b! I'll ducking kill you, duck you, duck you." His face is getting redder and redder with every squeeze. Finally, my mom pulls me away, and I let him go. My first memory was a nightmare I had when I was around 5. I remember it vividly, and I have no idea why it scared me so much. I look back and laugh at it because it is so weird. Anyways, my friends and we are all playing in my childhood home. Then there was a knock at the door. My friend went to open it, and there was Barney at the door. My friend invited him in, but every time he looked at me, he had evil red eyes. No one else noticed this. Eventually, Barney tried to get everyone outside. I followed hesitantly, and as soon as I stepped outside I saw that Triceratops character charging everyone with her horns, and had glowing red eyes. That was when I realized they were out for blood. I tried to get everyone to run, but they wouldn't listen. I watched Barney and the Triceratops take down my younger brother, and that's when I woke up. Once I dreamt I was chopping meat off of meat hooks with butter knives and feeding it to robotic heads. There were no bodies, just the heads chomping down on the meat I threw to them. And while doing that I was also talking to an aristocratic cockroach called Mr. Johnson, who I knew was an aristocrat because he was wearing a tuxedo, a monocle, and was fat. He had a deep raspy kind of voice, and I don't recall our conversation. However, at one point he said he had to go, and I asked, "But Mr. Johnson, won't you stay for dinner?" To which he replied, "No, and you won't either." And then I woke up 1 or 2 minutes before my alarm rang. Mr. Johnson became a joke among my group of friends, and a supervillain alongside Mal Pig, the evil swine. I work at a zoo, and we had crazy tigers. They have since been sent to a big cat sanctuary because they never really adjusted well to our location. But they used to sneak and ambush you when walking by their enclosure. No joke, you are minding your business and they would rush and pounce at the fence in full kill mode and scare the ever living shit out of you. The tigers are gone and in their new home, but there's a number of us that still have tiger nightmares. Do you work at the zoo IRL or in the dream? From the way he described it, he worked at a zoo IRL and those tigers gave him and his co-workers nightmares because they were so aggressive. I had a dream a couple of hours ago about a man named Lewis that moved to Australia from America after years of abuse from his father towards him and his sisters. One of his sisters passed away. It felt so real, and I felt such a strong connection. I tried looking it all up, but alas couldn't find anything because it wasn't real. It's got me really ducked up, to be honest. I contacted this person and we connected, and I loved him. But it was just a dream. Then I woke up back to this depressing lonely reality. I actually have some of mine written down, so I'll just copy paste my favorites notes onto here. Jack Black is in a movie about a mid-low-tier ranking gangster addicted to pain meds pulling off insane heists and murders solo-tier gangsters stop trying to kill him and his friends for his spot. This happens after he finds his dead friend with a 7 of diamonds playing card with the letter J burned into it. Gang is ranked by playing cards. Ace is new guys. King is big boss. Jack is currently 7 and card was a sign that they were coming for him. At one point he gets high in the back of a garbage truck and thinks he's in Lego Star Wars. Police trying out his weird mannerisms, one of Jack's mannerisms, to try to connect him to the crimes. Jack catches the police chief in high heels when he tries breaking into the station. Finds out while spying on Chief that his friends were going to double cross him. Name of the movie will be Jack Black's Blackjack. Kanye West seeks my help moving his furniture out of an apartment. Also all the furniture is assembled out of cereal boxes, Cheerios, Fruit Loops, Raisin Bran, Chex, etc. I actually had this dream 3 nights in a row. 8 or 9 giant anacondas had a battle royale in my backyard during a monsoon. Water up to my ankles, while I just stood and watched. Every time an anaconda killed one, it would consume the loser and grow in size. Eventually one Titanic anaconda was left, which slithered into the woods behind my house. Kurt Russell was a Pokemon trainer, but he was like, really into it, yelling attacks out, throwing his fists in the air. Whenever he'd get a KO he would lose his damn mind, and even me and other trainers would look at each other and talk about how Kurt Russell needs to take it down a notch. I was in this blue room and 3 girls walk in. One starts to give me a BJ, sweet. Then my duck falls off. The girl then penetrates me with my duck where my duck used to be, as if I now have a vagina. There is this rectangular piece sticking out where my duck used to be, so she hops on and starts riding me. She gets off, and then they all leave. I'm now forced to eat a dying baby. I don't know why, but I had to. I see its beautiful blue eyes looking up at me, and we had this moment. It's like he was saying it's okay to do this. He was born to die. He was born without a life. It brought me some peace, so I watched his eyes fade to black, then I ate it with a fork and knife. I've had a dream where I was walking in the corridor of my apartment at night. I spot an old woman with a cloth tied around her head to protect herself from the chilling cold. She was at the end of the corridor. I turn and look at her, and she looks up at me and drops her walking stick. Her eyes were black and her mouth twisted into a snarl. I was frozen to the spot. She started ducking, sprinting towards me, and I didn't hesitate to nope the duck out of there. I was extremely slow at running in the dream and the corridor never seemed to end. I turned around while running, and the old woman was inches from my face, but was now smiling. She told me to stop and look at her. She was just about to say something when I woke up. It was 8:47 in the morning and my parents were in my room, packing. My mum was ironing out my clothes. We were moving to India from Singapore that day. It was 2012, and I was 11. When we went to our rented room for the time being in India, I poo you not, the room number was 847. Being in a completely white room with no perceivable door or windows. Around the entire room about 3 inches from the ceiling is a model train track that comes into the room through a small tunnel from one wall, wraps the whole room, and then returns into a tunnel at the opposite side of the first wall. It is also completely white. On this track comes a small white model tank, smoking from its barrel the entire time it travels round the room. I get an anxious feeling of displacement, like the odd sensation you get if you take your thumb and push it as far as it will reach between your pointer and middle finger. I don't know why that specific action makes me get the same feeling of displacement, but it's the closest thing to it that I've been able to find out in the waking world. I have this dream around 5 to 6 times a year, and thus has been happening for more than 10 years now. I have no idea why. Cause you're going off the rails on the crazy train? I remember one that I infiltrated a villain meeting, and there were many villains there. It was in the style of My Hero Academia, so subtitles appeared each time a character was introduced, summarizing their power. When it was time, an old woman, holding a toilet under her arm, entered in the room, followed by 2 henchmen. Her subtitle, Toilet Queen. She has a toilet. For some reason the other villains were terrified of her. Imagine all the other villains having long descriptions of her power, and then arrives a villain, who's an old lady holding a toilet. Her power is that she has a toilet and everyone freaks out. Also, there was that time I saw in a magazine a new season of Dragon Ball Super, announcing the new villain, a female Saiyajin named Killer. Her notes said she was a Saiyajin and a Marxist. This is the first one to make me cry laugh, so thank you. Toilet Queen sounds like someone my mind could whip up. I was walking down Hanging Bridge with my hiking friends until it collapsed, and we all felt a river beneath. I survived and I swam to the land, and noticed that there is a small house there. I was going to ask help there, but when I opened the house door I realized that it was Sona and there was demon baby inside of it, and that baby killed me. Weird as duck. I once had a dream where I was walking through an incredibly vivid but unfamiliar city. During the dream I was quite intent on examining my surroundings and accidentally walked onto the street where I ended up getting hit by a car and I woke up. Fast forward to a few days later and we were on a road trip. We stopped for lunch at a little town near Canberra. After getting out of the car I started looking around and I got some deja vu vibes. It looked and felt eerily similar to my dream. For the next few minutes I was running through what I could remember of the dream and comparing it to the town. Unbeknownst to me, I had started wandering onto the road during my contemplations. At this point I reached the part of my dream where I got hit and I suddenly just decided to stop walking. A car sped past maybe a step away from me, had me rattled, but I was alright. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comments section below.